At the top of the hour, thousands are set to march in Washington, D.C., taking to the nation's capital to demand equal rights for the gay community. Now, this march comes less than 24 hours after President Obama addressed the nation's largest gay rights advocacy group.
I'm here with a simple message. I'm here with you in that fight. My commitment to you is unwavering even as we wrestle with these enormous problems. And while progress may be taking longer than you'd like, do not doubt the direction we are heading and the destination we will reach.
Joining me now is Wayne Besson, founding executive director of Truth Wins Out and author of Anything But Straight, and Charles Moran, national spokesperson for Log Cabin Republicans and Republican strategist. Great to have you both. Wayne, I'll start with you. You were there at that speech last night. We just heard now in playing some of the clips there, a lot of the loud applause for the president. You heard some of what you wanted to hear, but not enough, right?
It was a tremendous speech. Nobody gives a speech like Barack Obama, and it did fill people with hope, but we want results. And it's no longer enough to be pals with the powerful or be told that we're fabulous by the famous. We want to end all legalized discrimination with no excuses and no delays. The time to act is now. That's why the president was elected, to create change, and that's exactly what we're expecting.
Charles, last night the president did say, among other things, that he would get rid of don't ask, don't tell, but he didn't give a timeline on a lot of these measures. What was your thought?
Well, the timeline, there was no timeline, and the problem is that everything that he said last night, all of the promises he made to gay and lesbian Americans last night are all things we've heard before. 9 months ago, before he was sworn in, on the campaign trail. And the problem is that we've had a demonstrated pattern from the Obama administration of using gays and lesbians for their support, but never actually delivering. And in fact, we've almost seen there are a few circumstances where President Obama and his administration officials have actually been working to try to sidetrack the gay and lesbian agenda. There have been numerous reports about Rahm Emanuel trying to put the brakes on employment non-discrimination and hate crimes legislation moving through the House. And in fact, President Obama's own Justice Department is fighting efforts to overturn Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the court system, a court case that Log Cabin Republicans has challenged. So he says in one speech to us last night that he stands with us and he supports us, but at the same time, his actions are painting a completely different picture.
Wayne, I want to ask you, I just spoke a short while back with A.B. Stoddard, who writes for The Hill, and she was reading between the lines a bit on the president's speech, and we were talking about a potential timeline for when something might actually happen, given that the president didn't specify one. And we talked about the fact that you've got a lot on the president's plate right now ahead of the 2010 midterms, and then after 2010, after those midterms, which the Democrats may or may not hold the majority, she says it's 50-50 right now, then you've got the president potentially ramping up and focusing up on his own re-election for 2012, and her thought was he's not going to be able to do it then. So when he talks about in that speech, as he did last night, at the end of an Obama administration, you will see these things that you want, she thinks he's saying, hey, we might be talking about 6, 7, 8 years down the line.
And that's what we can't afford. We have to take action now. We have to give Don't Ask, Don't Tell the dishonorable discharge it deserves. One of our biggest problems, of course, is we have to put all our eggs in the Democratic basket because the other party is full of basket cases. The Republican Party has gone so far to the right that they actually think Sarah Palin is a serious person, and they think that Mike Huckabee is a serious presidential contender. And that's one of our biggest problems. But the thing is this, the Democrats and President Obama got our votes, they got our money, we campaigned, we worked very hard because promises were made, and we expect promises to be kept. Every day that goes by, our families are not protected.
Charles,
every day that goes by,
you take issue with what he's saying?
Military. That has to change.
Wayne, you're taking a lot of cheap partisan shots here. Don't Ask, Don't Tell has broad bipartisan support. One of the chief co-sponsors on that repeal bill is Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Layton, a Republican from Florida. We had 17 Republicans vote in the initial House vote to enact hate crimes protection for gays and lesbians. Vice President Dick Cheney has gone out farther in support of marriage equality than Barack Obama or Joe Biden has.
I'm sorry, but who are you kidding? You can't even fill a basketball pickup team with the number of Republican moderates anymore. As much as we're pushing the Democrats, let's not compare the parties.
More of an apologist agenda for Barack Obama and the Democratic Party. They're not taking the gay and lesbian communities seriously, and the problem is we're discharging tens of thousands of qualified gay gay and lesbian service members. We are not offering protections that Fortune 500 CEO companies are extending to their own employees
Charles,
as a
let me
federal
just ask
government.
you quickly as a final question. If this doesn't get done before the midterm elections, and if in the midterms the Democrats do not win the majority and you have Republicans in Congress with the majority, will the president be able to get this passed?
Well, if he can't do it now, then I don't, with the wind at his back and with the amount of political capital that he has, I don't know necessarily when he's going to be able to. But at that point, there are still a number of high-ranking Republican elected officials who look at the issues like Don't Ask, Don't Tell and employment non-discrimination and saying this is, just these issues we've got to pass. We've got to repeal DOMA. We must repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell and put into place employment non-discrimination and hate crimes protections. I mean, these are broad-based, bipartisan supported pieces of legislation.
Charles Moran, Wayne Besson. Gentlemen, thank you both for weighing in today. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And in our Take Note file, the push for pot